Yeah,
How you feeling, Jeff?
I'm wore out, man. I'm glad it's Monday, but I'm wore out. So no, it was good.
Good. So we have Jeff Davis here. He is not only the main guy who puts on the Cottonwood Rodeo here, but also the leader and founder of 4-Star Rodeo Company. Actually, tell me the history there, Jeff, about 4-Star Rodeo. I think it's cool for people to understand.
Well, 4-Star Rodeo Company was actually started by Don Jones and Ronnie Garcia back in the early 80s, mid 80s. Yeah. And I joined up with, I bought Ronnie out in the early 90s and then ended up buying Don out in the late 90s. And then Terry and I have just, taken it over from there. So.
And for those who don't know, who are in the rodeo world, 4-Star Rodeo, I mean, they're taking animals to the National Finals Rodeo every year. This is a really big, successful rodeo company right out of our backyard right here in Cottonwood, California. So
yeah, we're
proud of that.
We go to Texas usually in the wintertime, and this year we didn't. Last year we got to go before the shutdown. Yeah. And but yeah, we do between 35 and 40 rodeos throughout western United States.
That's awesome. That's a big deal. Anybody not in the rodeo world knows that each one of these things is a production enough to wear you out for the year. I mean, you would spend all year. Normal people would spend all year to put just one rodeo on. Yeah. So to put that many rodeos on successfully is a huge deal.
Especially Cottonwood. That's probably the most work for you. Isn't it?
Yeah, Cottonwood, because I am the stock contractor, the committee guy. Porta potties,
sure,
beer stand, sponsors, and I mean our sponsors at Cottonwood have just the last couple of years have just went, bonkers. They're calling me. I'm just trying to keep up with the phone calls.
Didn't have room for any more banners.
Didn't have any. No, I mean it was awesome. The local support we get here at Cottonwood, but Cottonwood is a trying one for me because most of the times I show up with my load of livestock, unload them, buck them, and it's a lot easier. But when you do everything, it's a job. It's a job. But we got a good crew.
So last year, exactly a year ago, we were in the thick of this lockdown. This has been a theme throughout our podcast so far, is because we're talking to a lot of business owners and people that have been on the forefront of saying, "Hey, screw you. We're not shutting down. We're going to keep going on with our lives." Yeah. And I don't think anything last year during this time was more historic than the Cottonwood Rodeo.
Yeah. So Jeff, all of Jeff's other contracts got canceled pretty much, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So tell us about leading up to that, Jeff, up to that day. What was, I know we talked on the phone before Cottonwood Rodeo last year, and.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, like when this all came in, March, we didn't know what it was.
Sure.
And, kind of complied and locked down and did what they asked us to do for a while. And then, go through March and through April, and I'm kind of sitting there thinking, this might be a little bit more BS than what it, what they're playing it out to be.
Sure.
So, long story short, we got the whole family over the first weekend of May. Usually we're in Bakersfield, Riverdale, Springville, down there putting on rodeos in the Central Valley, and of course they were all canceled. And we were just having a fun day there at the house on Sunday, and the kids were all roping, and we was getting ready to have some barbecue and kick out, or do some roping and a barbecue. And somebody said, "What are we going to do next weekend during Mother's Day?" Yeah. Somebody said, "Well," I think it was Tracy and Alan said, "Well, we can have Mother's Day, dinner over at our house, and we'll do something like that." And it just kind of been going through my mind for a few days, and I just popped off and I said, "Why don't we just have that rodeo?"
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I mean, everybody kind of looked at me and said, "What?" I said, "Yeah."
Had you had too many cocktails at that point?
No, that beer kind of gets to me every now and then. But no, we just sat there, and I said, I think it's time. Let's have this rodeo. We're on private property. If you don't like it, if you're scared or whatever, you don't have to come. But we're gonna go ahead and live our lives and move on. So that was kind of it. I said, if I can get insurance, I'll have it. I called the insurance company on Monday, and they would insure it. Mm-hmm. And so 6 days later, we put it on.
That's awesome. That was so amazing too, because he literally decided the week before. No time for advertising.
Yeah.
And it was probably the biggest.
It was. I think yesterday might have been right there.
Yeah.
As big as last year, but last year was the biggest Cottonwood rodeo we'd ever had up until that point.
I thought it was incredible. Now, tell me, leading up to that, Jeff, did you have any kind of interaction with the sheriffs or with the media or anything leading up to last year? I don't want to get you in trouble here, but
No, we're good. Yeah. We're good. Yeah, I did. I contacted Dave Hencraft, the Tama County Sheriff. Yep. good friend of mine, which is out of his deal. And I said, "Do you think I'm crazy?" And he said, "Well, you can do whatever you want, you know." So I contacted our local sheriff here in town, and you know, told him kind of what we were doing. And you know, he said, as far as he's concerned, I'm not breaking no laws.
Sure,
I'm on private property. I'm doing what I want. Yeah. You know, he said, you're not breaking any laws. You do what you want on your own property. So we had 28 acres out there. So we said, there's plenty of, if you know, people want a social distance or don't want to be around other people, they can go sit up on the hill or whatever. But it's their choice. You know, it's choice. And then I did get a phone call from the county health. And they said, Mr. Davis, do you understand you're going to have the rodeo? And I said, yes, I am. And they said, well, we recommend that you not have it, that you postpone it. I said, okay, cool. When do you want me to? 2 weeks later, a month later? I said, how about a year later?
How about not?
Yeah. She said, I can't give you, I can't tell you, you know, when you're going to have it. I said, exactly. So we are going to have it Sunday, Mother's Day at 1 o'clock if you'd like to go.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of it. And then it got a little blown out of proportion. You know, the media, they like to, you know,
sensationalize everything.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it kind of went, once we announced we were having it, and we didn't, you know, we just put it on Facebook mainly for the contestants, but then it just got out there and it got wild. And
I think you guys ended up roping until about midnight. Then.
Yeah, we started roping at slack 8 o'clock that morning, and we stopped long enough to have our performance. After our performance, we had slack till midnight.
Well, guys came from all over the country.
Oh, they were from, you know, and not only contestants, but you know, there was a lot of people that I had sponsors that didn't even show up, but that were out of the state that sent money to support our event, you know, and just sent the money. So, I mean, we had so much backing.
An incredible event, you know, and at that point, we were just on the verge of these, you know, real long-term shutdowns, right? I think at that point, you know, we were a couple months in and we all kind of figured out, we thought it was bullshit. And then, you know, this rodeo happens, and it was like seeing people for the first time. It really was. It was like I was seeing people for the first time, smiling and laughing and hugging and kissing, you know, watching this beautiful rodeo. And I think people were just high off that. I
was at the front gate. My wife was working the gate, and I was up there for a while just watching people come in. And there were people with tears in their eyes. I mean, they were so excited that it was going on. They felt just proud to be a part of it, you know. And even after Jeff told Kelly to quit taking money, that, you know, halfway into the performance said, all right, whoever comes now can come in free. There were people like, hey, I drove here from Oregon.
I want to pay
to support this, and I'm paying.
They were chasing her down the pair.
No, that's awesome.
And I mean, everybody was just so happy. I mean, it was just like, you know, it was just a great day. It was a beautiful weather, but they were just so happy to be out and be around people again, you know, and to live their life again.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
And then, now that you know of, did anybody get sick or die from the Cottonwood Rodeo?
No, there was no reported cases from the Cottonwood Rodeo.
I love the shirts. I saw people yesterday wearing I survived the Cottonwood Rodeo.
Yeah. Well, that's an important thing to bring up because we forget short memories, you know, and after the event, it was great. You don't even think to revisit, well, what was the aftermath? Well, there's none.
Yeah, there was none. And I mean, they even mentioned that the other day. I don't know if you guys seen it on the news there. They said Cottonwood Rodeo is going to happen again this year after, you know, going against the governor's orders or whatever it was last year. But afterwards, there was no reported cases after the event.
Right. Imagine that, for being accused of killing grandmothers and, you know, being careless and not taking people's health into consideration. I'd say, you know, we took people's mental health into consideration first, because that's a decline here. And that's the story they're not telling, is the people that are going into these deep depression cycles and commit suicide and just abusing their kids and their loved ones, you know. That's the stuff they're not talking about. So when we say, hey, I want to go to a rodeo because it's going to keep me happy and keep the people around me happy, that's an important thing.
Massively important, yeah. And Jeff, I give you kudos. You're like a pioneer. It took scientists months to evaluate it. New York Times finally releases that outdoors, you're not going to transmit it from person to person. It's like nearly impossible outdoors.
You know,
I commend you, man. You're must be a hell of a scientist over there. You know?
Well, thank you. But you know, I mentioned that to him last year on one of them interviews. I said, you know, I'm in the livestock industry. I know what viruses are. Our livestock, you know, goes through them all the time. I said, you know, you're outdoors. It's not like we got them locked in. You know, I mean, you're outdoors. It's fresh air, and fresh air is what we all need: sunshine and fresh air.
Absolutely.
You know. And, you know, like I said, this virus, it's a virus. You're not going to be able to run from it. You can't hide from it. You can't mask up from it. It's going to run its course.
Yeah, I love people that are like, oh, it's not gone yet. Well, of course it's not.
It ain't never going to go.
No, it's not going away.
It's not going away, people. It's going to be here forever.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to live. You just live with it. You just like all the rest of it.
For decades.
And now it's a whole vaccination deal now, where now they're pushing this vaccination. I'm like, I understand, you want to push a vaccination for something that's really deadly and dangerous, but for something that has a 99.8% survival rate, I'm not going to inject something into my body just because it's going to make you feel safer.
For an unknown period of time as well. They don't know the actual potency of the vaccine.
Yeah.
So you're setting yourself up for, okay, well, now I see some people, it was so liberating and so free. Well, you're set up to get a liberating shot every 6 months right now. Are you ready for that?
And now we're
down the line,
we're coming down to the passports, where now Canada said you can't even go into Canada now without a vaccine passport. That's kind of hopefully not the way of the future, but that's what we're fighting against now. Is like, look, let's stop this before it gets there.
Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, there is, you look at our rodeo schedule. I've probably had 12 or 15 rodeos this spring, that have canceled. Mm-hmm. But the only ones that we're doing this spring, Red Bluff, Cottonwood, Redding. So our North State is standing up.
I think that's fantastic.
It's awesome.
And that's what we're proud of. What a great testimony.
Yes.
I mean, our North State is standing up and saying, we are going to do this. We are going to make this happen.
And the people are supporting it,
too.
the
people, it's unbelievable.
Red Bluff, they broke all their records, too.
It's not a minority. Just the rodeo crowds putting on the rodeo, and then it's empty stands. It's packed.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people that said this really is my first rodeo.
A lot of people. I mean, so
it's an event finally.
During Red Bluff, I had people coming into the bar there at the Palomino Room saying, "Hey, we're from Southern California, and this is the first time we've been to a rodeo." I said, "You came up here for the rodeo?" And I said, "Absolutely. We heard there was this rodeo thing going on." But I think that's a great story, right?
Yeah.
That cowboys, that we've talked about this a lot, the cowboy culture, that Western culture, the pioneer spirit that goes within that is what's staying up. And that's what's leading the way for other people to be able to say, hey, you know what? If they can do that, if they can have these wonderful big events, then I can open my business.
Yeah.
Then I can send my kids to school and I can start doing these things. So, Jeff, real quick, is it the committees up in Oregon that have decided that, or is it the state? What exactly is going on?
Well, up in Oregon's getting, she's Kate Brown, when I say she's really trying to lock that down. She did get quite a little bit of pressure and kind of reopened part of it up last week.
Sure.
But about 10 days ago, she put a total lockdown again on like they were in March of a year ago.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, and so our committees up there, a lot of them are on state and county property.
Sure.
And so they have
tougher.
They got a few more hoops to jump through than we do on private property. But I think we had one 4th of July rodeo canceled last week, Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
And after numerous phone calls, and I mean, it's on private property, and he's in Eugene, which is, as we all know, it's a very liberal city.
So university city, yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, he has made the decision. This week, we kind of got together, come up with a plan, and we're going to move forward with it. So Eugene, Oregon is going to happen over the 4th of July.
Well, tell him the story about, you were telling me that he called back after he had canceled and was like, well, maybe we could just do a bull riding or something. Jeff goes, no, man, why don't you do a rodeo?
Yeah, if we do a bull riding, let's do a whole deal.
Yeah. He goes, maybe we just do a one-day rodeo or one-day bull riding or something small. I said, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right.
Yeah, let's do a rodeo.
And, his worry was, well, what if I lose my butt and I won't be able to pay you? So I just said, hey, we'll just do it together. It's got to work. It's got to work for you before it works for me.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So his insurance company is willing to insure it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big tell too. Like insurance companies are usually the most conservative.
Yeah, and all the insurance companies. I mean, I haven't heard of one place getting shut down as far on the rodeo industry.
Yeah,
is because of not being able to get insurance.
Sure,
so we're able to get the spectator liability insurance and all the insurance we want. But I mean, I think what Eugene's biggest problem was, they don't have a lot of county support.
Sure.
Where in our community here, we have some of the county people, even some of the county people like the sheriff and in Red Bluff, they've got some people behind them in Tehama County that are supporting, trying to get these things done, do everything safely, but, open our lives up and let us go.
Yeah.
It's just, my business is essential.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I know Walmart's must be, but mine is too.
It's essential to you and your family.
Yeah. It's essential to me and my. So I don't know how they could pick a business and say this one's essential and this one's not. That's just
Well,
about as corrupt. That's as corrupt as you can get right there.
They can't, and we talked about this, you know, in our last episode, how it's not the government that I'm worried about, it's the people. You know, I've gotten more flack from other citizens, you know, even other business owners turning on me than I have from the government. You know?
Well, and that's because I think leaders have okayed that. They're not standing up for you either.
No,
They support,
You know, they're just standing by. Okay, yeah, and then
They made
in fact,
they made call
Newsom
lines
said,
and
"Hey,
stuff.
call,
Hey, call in
call
on
against your neighbor.
Yeah,
you know, report your neighbors." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?
that's
coming
eerily
from the top?
reminiscent of history.
Yeah,
Like, I don't like that at
and
all.
so maybe the acts aren't parallel or you know, on the same level, but the behavior is. Report your fellow citizen.
Yeah.
That's just garbage. We've got to put a stop to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then the rodeo this last weekend, Jeff, you guys turned out okay?
Man, it was awesome. We had, you know, I think it broke a record again on the biggest crowd we've had. You know, Cotton was a small facility anyway. You know, we only seat 1,500, 2,000 people there, but
There was more than that.
no, yeah, we had them. They were up on the hill. They were sitting on top of their cars. They were on the fences. They were everywhere. So
And
you know,
you know
we
what?
haven't
I'll
got
tell
the
you-
final gate count, but yeah, it was big.
It was windy, and nobody minded being there. Everybody was just so happy to be there. And I always say it's about the kids. Everything we do, whatever I do in my life, really is for that next generation.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And hopefully our parents did it for us. We do it for our children, our grandchildren. And to see the kids running around, to me, is the best part.
Yeah,
you know, at a rodeo.
Yeah.
you know, it's just
that too.
Yeah, they're
free
they're just living their life
That's it.
like we're supposed to be living our lives. You
that's
know,
beautiful.
And you know, it was great. I mean, people had a great time, and there was a lot of people. Thanks, Woody and his crew and his wife, Kelly. I know she was slammed all day there at that front gate. You know, but
She got on the radio. Help! The line at one point was like 150 yards long.
Yeah.
It was down past the. It was like people.
No,
were
parking
still-
was, you know, shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, I was coming from Palo Cedro, you know, and we started hitting some traffic on Deschutes Road, you know, like as you could right coming out of Palo Cedro, people started to head that way,
Yeah.
you know. It was just an awesome deal.
It was an awesome event, and you know, we had some good contestants, and you know, the sponsors. Like I said a little bit earlier, it's just unbelievable about the way people are kicking in money to get things open, to get people back to doing they want to live again. You know, and they're just more than happy to.
And that's
to
really
help
the
us.
message. What you just said right there, Jeff, really to me is a message about how we should live our lives in America. We shouldn't depend on the government to
Exactly.
allow us or give us some money for things. It's people. It's the American spirit. It's people who own businesses, people who have some stake in their communities to say, hey, you know what? I want Jeff to have a rodeo. I'm going to support this. And as I look around the arena and I'm seeing these companies that have supported the rodeo, I mean, I think these banners are growing year by year. You know, there's more and more people. And it's incredible because that's really how we get things done in our communities. Where I think we've believed for so long that, hey, I need the government to allow me to do this, where it's the exact opposite. You know, I need the support of the people around me in my community to put on events like this.
It's a mindset. Have you noticed that all the folks that are kind of leading on the leading edge of this are small business guys?
They are. Absolutely.
Where's the government worker that's
They're out there. They're just
not very vocal.
Yeah,
They're
and they're being careful because of how it could affect their household.
And
Because I've talked to some of them,
and
you
that
know,
needs to change, I think, because we have a lot of friends who are in law enforcement, who work at the county, city, you know, or in government jobs, and they say, "Hey, man, we support you, but we can't really say anything." You know, it's like the party that we had, you know, a couple weeks ago over at Corky's.
Right.
You know, what a great party! But there was school teachers there, there was principals there, and they were all like undercover, right? I said, you know what? What a shame, right? What a shame that you just can't say, "Hey, you know what? I work for the government. I am a teacher. I am this." And I'm here to support this.
Yep.
You know, it shouldn't be an underground type
You
of
shouldn't
thing.
have to be looking over your shoulder
No.
saying, "Who's seeing me here?" You know, you
because-
got to be
and-
proud and standing up, saying why I'm here. You
Well,
know?
and the government is perpetuating that. They're saying report your fellow citizens, judge each other, get on each other. No. Unite each other.
Yeah, unite.
Quit that. You know.
There's more of us, especially up here. I mean, you're going to tell me, like Jeff said, you know, we have Red Bluff, we have Cottonwood, we have Reading Rodeo coming up.
Yeah.
And all three events are going to be record crowds. I'm telling you right now, Reading Rodeo will be a record crowd this year. You're going to tell me that we don't have the support of the people? There's way more of us, but there's this 10% of people that are against
loud.
us, that are very loud and obnoxious. They're just squeaky wheel, you know, and they hate us. You know?
Well, and the other part about it too, I think, is a lot of the good that's coming out of that isn't being perpetuated by media support. It's like kind of like, well, they're doing that. Well, let's talk about the goodness. You know, all this science rhetoric that I always have to put up with. How about what HRV, heart rate variability. I'm gonna get geeky for a minute. Sorry, guys.
go ahead.
You'll like it. You'll like it. I know. So it's basically a measure that they're taking on people. That's what this monitor does for me. It monitors my HRV. Well, and it basically tells you how good your body's doing, for lack of just put it in most simple terms. Well, when you do an event like a rodeo and you go and you enjoy yourself, you're around people and everything. Studies have proven HRV goes up with those kind of events. Immune system goes up. So it's not just for fluff, like you're saying. It's for the hearts of the people. That's 100% accurate. And if you just go a few layers deep on science, it'll prove it.
Sure.
But that message isn't getting out there. And that's one thing that my wife and I own in the gym are just sick and tired of sitting back and not being able to see that. Went to the county, went to the committees and said, hey, let's do something preventative. Let's prove that these rodeos are worthwhile for our communities. Everyone feels a purpose. That's huge for just the soul of a man, right?
Yeah.
All these different components. So that's another place where the leaders are just, oh yeah, well, we're not doing anything because we're still in a state of an emergency, and we won't. The mandates are in place, but we won't enforce them. Well, how about supporting those other things that you're equally? If you're really actually working and leading, you should be supporting.
They're so
Jeff
afraid of
Davis,
losing
they
the
should
money.
come shake your hand and say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing something good for my people. These are my constituents. Thank you.
Well,
all of
then
us
they
that
would
are
have
doing
to
things,
admit that they had their head in their shorts.
Yeah, that's true. Wait, am I asking for humility? Oh, too much. Too much.
You're
Too
not gonna
much.
get
They
that.
won't even come and talk to us.
Well, I'll tell you,
They're
I mean,
just
I was-
we're crazy.
I was incredibly humbled, by how many people said, hey, we're watching what you guys are doing and we're supporting it. And then there's times we all have our moments of weakness. There's times where I'm like, holy shit, you kind of question yourself because somebody says something about you on Facebook, or they're against what you're doing, or it starts to feel like that they're building this squad against you.
I'm going to take your phone if you keep watching Facebook.
I know. I need to turn that off. But I'll tell you that you go to an event like we did this weekend at the Cottonwood Rodeo, and you're like, holy smokes, there's so many good Americans up here that love what we're doing, want to support it, want to hold our government accountable, and have had enough. There's people that have lost their businesses. We're just saying, hey, enough's enough, and we're not going to let them do this to us again. And that's our biggest message.
No, and I mean, the entertainment industry has taken such a huge hit. I'm just using rodeo as one of them.
Sure.
I mean, you take guys like myself. Luckily, I'm in the real estate business also and do a little bit of developing. That was able to keep us through. If I was just in the rodeo business, I'd have went broke. I'd lost everything.
What'd you lose contract wise?
I lost right around $1 million last year.
$1 million.
Yep.
$1 million. That I'll never get back.
That's a lot of haircuts, man.
And just because of your resilience, you're not a sob story. But that doesn't discount the $1 million of loss.
Exactly.
If you multiply by that all the industries, we're talking about a huge loss.
What they don't understand, the rodeo business, it's not like Jeff just shut down his doors, and then kind of went away for a year. He still has animals to feed. There's still people on staff that he's paying, And this is what they don't account for. They say, oh, well.
I still got ranches to pay for. And
Absolutely.
There's 300 head of animals have to eat every day.
Yeah,
If they saw your hay bill, most people would
and this is to me, the preposterous thing in the conversation is that they think that if you own a business, that somehow that was given to you and that you're wealthy, right? And that you have all kinds of that, you're printing money for yourself. People say it all the time. Oh, Carlos has money. Oh, Jeff has a rodeo company. He's got a lot of money. But that's none of their business. It's neither here nor there.
Right.
It still doesn't account for the fact that you lost $1 million last year.
Yeah.
Or when they say the corporations.
Oh, geez.
I'm a corporation.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
dummy?
Exactly.
Come on.
So a lot of people, take it as, well, you got $1 million less dollars. Well, I didn't have $1 million to start with.
Exactly.
And I mean,
that's not the way the business
that's
works.
That's not the way the business works. Yeah, I lost $1 million, but not only me, but all of my employees, my contract personnel that go along, my pickup men and bullfighters, clowns, announcers, all them people, that I usually pay throughout the year. Was,
Sure.
that
was one less paycheck for them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
That's their paycheck also.
You get a guy like Billy Holland. Look at, how many rodeos does he work a year besides competing in them?
He works.
Go down to zero income for him too.
Yeah, they're just. It's been so devastating in the in the entertainment industry, and I mean, same with the singers. Like I've talked with Chad Bushnell a couple of times, and and at least finally he's starting to get to do some stuff. Thanks, Carlo. He kind of kept him busy throughout the year, but not near what his normal deal was. And it's just like us. We usually do between 35 and 40 rodeos, and last year we did 5.
Yeah.
And I mean that just didn't keep the, we kept the doors open, but it was a tough one.
Well, and that's a shame too, because rodeos are. I mean, yours are probably all outdoors, right?
Yeah.
So
90%
So
of
the
them.
studies now, the science backs it.
Exactly.
And people still won't move.
No.
Sometimes I lose my patience. I want to be gentle with them, but I just want to go kick them in the
Well,
ass. And
you know,
go,
they'll
look,
let-
host your rodeo.
Yeah.
Get it going. Get
Yeah.
people going.
The science was a big deal till the science was in our favor. Now the science is a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff, let's talk about the rodeo for a second here, because it's obviously something that's near and dear to all our hearts here. What do you think about the future of rodeo? Aside from COVID, aside from the lockdowns and everything else that happened last year, where have you seen rodeo go in the last 10 years? Where do you see it going in the next 10 years?
Man, that's kind of a tough question.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you what, in the southern part of our state and the central part of our state, I see rodeo going away because of the mindset of the people down there.
Yeah.
So it's our job to get the American cowboy tradition back out there and going. In areas like where we live, rodeo is booming.
Sure.
In the rural areas, I mean, throughout rural America, rodeo is booming.
Sure.
But we also need to keep our roots in these urban areas. We got to be in Southern California. We have to be on the East Coast. We need rodeos in LA. LA tried to just here a few weeks ago tried to get a ban against having rodeos in LA.
They did.
And
goodness.
Horse racing,
and all
Why
that
are
stuff.
they banning that? What's behind that? Is
Animal
that
rights.
Animal rights.
Animal
stuff?
rights.
In fact, the PRCA California circuit talked to my daughter last year about kind of lobbying for him.
Yeah.
Restarting like the Friends for Rodeo just to get a voice out there.
Because we need
on our
we
side,
need to educate people. I mean, there's a lot of people that are so miseducated, as we all know.
Absolutely.
It depends on what they're listening to or what they're watching, but they're so miseducated. We just need to educate them about what we do, where we came from, and why rodeo is such a American America's number one sport.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
And it's cultural tradition. This is something that gets downplayed a lot. But once that culture dies, it never comes back.
Exactly.
That's why it's so important for me. And I'm so lucky. That like my son is in the rodeo world. He's riding bulls and he wants to be a part of this rodeo business. And I think it's fantastic because if we don't foster that and encourage that with that next generation, it's just like it was beautiful to see your grandkids out there yesterday. And I mean, I get tears in my eyes when I see Jade out there with the flag.
With the American flag,
that's really, really an emotional deal. But if we allow that to die, it never comes back.
Exactly.
There's not somebody else that's all of a sudden going to revive it, from nothing. So we
that's
have to
100%
keep that
true.
going because that is something that's uniquely American, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's our Western heritage, our Western way of life, and I mean that's how we all, that's how everything started here.
Absolutely.
That's how this whole thing
This
started.
is the West.
This is the West. This is where it all started.
And here's the thing too about the livestock part of it. Like these horses that
Oh
Jeff
my
bucks,
goodness. Yeah.
what if there wasn't a rodeo? They'd be in a can of dog food somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
And they
they're-
get treated.
They buck hard. They're athletes, but on average they work like 3 minutes a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
the
it's
rest
like
of
a
their
team rope
treatment's
industry.
primo.
Rope, it gets
Oh,
about 4
they get
minutes a
treated.
year.
So we have a
They're
rule at
treated
my
so
house, which
well,
I'm
yeah.
sure most people do. But the rule at our house is we don't eat until our animals eat.
That's right.
So we go out and we feed bulls and we make sure everything's getting taken care of. And once all the animals are taken care of, then we can go in the house and we can have breakfast.
Yeah.
That's just how it is in most families. So they don't realize that we concern ourselves more with the welfare of our livestock because that's how we make a living. If you're in the rodeo business,
Yeah.
I need my animals to be healthy.
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it is a lack of education.
It's
People
a lack
don't
of
realize
education.
it.
It's like people, why would I want to? That's when I get into conversations with people that really don't know, have been misinformed about the rodeo business and think that we force them to buck. No, it's bred into them. It's what they love to do, and that's how I make my living is with an animal.
Sure.
He's working for me, and so I'm going to do my best to make sure that he feels his best, he looks his best, and he
firing on all
performs his
cylinders.
best.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they are, like Woody said, they are so well. They're over pampered, I guess, and taken care of. But it's my.
But when we're talking about the future of rodeo, like the next 10 years, what's that going to look like? Because these people aren't going away. We're going to have to be deep into this battle against that mindset of people that say, what, I want to get rid of that culture. I want to get rid of rodeo. And by and large, people in this lifestyle, in the Western lifestyle, are conservative people. They're patriotic people. Mm-hmm. So in a time when they want to make it illegal for a kid to wear an American flag to school, we don't stand a chance keeping this thing alive if that's the way it starts going.
Well, they've got so much money behind them. They get these movie stars.
They just it's the same thing. They misinform the people, tell them a little bit of lie, and get them to send them some money.
Sure.
And it's and so we have to fight it, and we continue. I do a lot of. And usually in like Salinas, Santa Rosa, kind of in that area over there, I do a lot of shoot tours with some of the some of the sponsors, a lot of the sponsors, and then a lot of people that just don't really know that that want to see, I'll take them behind the scenes. I show them how we feed, how we take care of the bulls.
That's fantastic.
You know, walk them through the pens and the horses, and you know, show them that they are not mistreated animals. You know, they love what they're doing. You know, this is their life, and it's really good when we get done with that, because I mean that way I can change some people's minds. You know, I can show them the truth of what we're doing.
At the end of the day, the most iconic figure in the world is the American cowboy.
Exactly.
Now, you can go to China wearing a cowboy hat. People are going to say, "Oh, that's an American cowboy."
Yeah.
Every boy wanted at some point in his life to be a cowboy.
to be John Wayne.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean, you go to New York City, you know, the Big Apple, and you watch like when the PBR goes there. They sell out, and you have all these people that even for one day they're all cowboys. Right? For one day they go buy their hats, they buy their boots, they put them on, you know, and it feels good just for that day, even if it is just for a weekend to be a cowboy. And that says a lot, I think, about how iconic what we're doing is. You know, when guys like Jeff Davis out west say, "Hey, you know what? We're going to have a rodeo, and we're going to keep having rodeos." You know, and then his kids and grandkids are going to stay in this. Yeah, and I think that's a really, really powerful thing.
Jeff, tell the story when you talked to that Kristi Noem, the governor.
Oh yeah, so Kristi Noem, which you know I'm a huge fan of hers anyway. And I think we all are. So I was at the NFR this year, and I don't remember. It was early in the week, maybe third or fourth performance, and she's carrying the American flag in there, and I'm standing on the back of the buck and shoots, and I'm watching her, and she rides out, and she gets off about 30 feet from me, and she just her and her husband and maybe a couple staff people with her there. She's standing there, and I'm really wanting to go introduce myself, you know. And I'm saying, I said, "Nah, bullshit. I'm going to go. Where else am I going to have a chance to meet this girl?"
Sure.
So I just walked over to her, introduced myself, thanked her for her beliefs and what she's done for her state, and even fighting for our country.
Yeah.
Right. And so, she asked me, she goes, "Well, where are you from?" I said, "A little town in Northern California called Cottonwood." And she looks at me and she goes, "You had a rodeo, didn't you?"
That's awesome.
I said, "Yes, we did."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We sure
awesome.
did.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, and what an amazing story, and yeah, that's somebody that we're all watching, and hopefully she ends up. I mean, I'd love to see that gal as president.
I mean, she's just and I got to sit there and visit with her for a little bit, and just a down to earth, Yeah.
And these people are out there.
Genuine. She's
They're
real.
That's the people we need.
Yes.
The genuine people,
Yes.
not career politicians. She didn't wake up or wasn't born into being a politician.
She wasn't groomed for it.
She wanted to change the way things were.
Absolutely.
And she went and did what she had to do.
And let's mention she kept her state open the entire time.
The whole time.
And their what's the word there? The rates, their COVID rates, I think we're still below the rest of the country.
Yeah, I don't think they're any different than any other state.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what you look at. Florida, Texas, compared to California or Portland, Oregon, all got the same numbers, whether you're locked down or not.
Yeah. I mean, by virtue of the lockdowns in California, I mean, we shouldn't have had any cases, the way that they were locking us down.
I saw Kristi Noem interviewed on some show, and she says, they said, "Well, it sounds like Dr. Fauci is really upset with some of the decisions you made." And she goes, "Well, who listens to Dr. Fauci? He's been right less than a bad weatherman."
And that's great, but you're right. There's all these people. The word that I always look out for is the word expert. When somebody says, "Oh, well, these are experts," but when my ears just kind of perk up, I go, "Hold on," the hair on the back of my neck stands up a little bit. People say that because what's that even mean? But when you look at when you're trying to control a population, you're trying to condition a population. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Is scientists, experts, because nobody wants to argue with an expert. Well, who made them?
And there's several different ways to follow that and to be able to substantiate that it was an agenda and it was something played. I mean, there's profits that are
a lot of money.
I mean, you're talking 33
and
billion to vaccine companies already this year.
Oh yeah, huge profits.
And that's our dollars that are being pumped to them because it's a pandemic. So there's copyrights of the vaccines and the virus itself. Actually, the Wuhan strain. Mm-hmm. I just talked to a guy he's working nationally to try and get people to just be able to look at that and say, because it changes the way you look at whether it's oppressing or not. Because you think, "Oh no, they're trying to take care of us." Well, when you realize there's an industrial complex behind this virus, it changes your perspective immediately.
Right away. Yeah.
And there's experts, true experts that know copyrights and can follow the chain. And then it's not hard to see when you see the 15 billion in sales increase, which is a 29% increase for Pfizer.
Wow.
We're not even halfway through the year.
29% increase.
Wow.
And in less than 6 months, you lost $1 million. They gained probably.
Do you think they're mad about COVID?
Yeah, right? Exactly. And Moderna, that's 860%. They didn't turn a profit until this vaccine got released this year. So you just got to take that into consideration. Oh, they're just benevolent, good companies, and they were cutting edge.
No, I don't.
Come
think so
on, use that little.
So the great thing that we're doing here in episode 3, we're getting doctors, local doctors here, real doctors, not made up doctors like these people have. We're going to talk about this real plainly for everybody to understand that. Look, this is our take. This is how you deal with the pandemic. This is a course of action that you follow, when you're dealing with this kind of a virus. Yeah. Yep. And I think that's going to be pretty eye-opening for people. Yeah. But they say, oh, well, they try to debunk. Well, whenever we put forth an actual doctor, a real scientist, somebody that's done the research, the first thing they try to do is debunk you, right? They try to discredit that person, So they won't be able to do that. But my issue is, okay, so you guys want to discredit doctors that we bring forward, but you guys have Bill Gates as your lead scientist, and what you're doing. Right. Talk about following the money.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, it is a whole other episode. But again, kudos to Jeff for going, I've got this. I've got my researchers,
and it's common sense,
say.
and this is the deal, and everybody knows that cowboys have a lot of common sense. That's how you get through your day. So I don't need to be a scientist or a researcher or a doctor, to be able to say, hey, you know what, I'm around animals. I understand the way viruses work. I understand how to treat them. Yeah. And I understand, that when an animal's sick, I quarantine, I isolate that animal by himself to get better.
Hey, you got to think about, though, during that time and the kind of pushback and some of the implications, people are talking about, that Jeff had to be going through his mind, like, hey, what if they trace a bunch of sick people or some people die? Right. Think about that for a second. The liability side of it, his brother-in-law said Jeff has to push his balls around in a wheelbarrow. Hey, that's really the deal.
It is true. It is true.
It's way different for a little guy like.
Well, and let's take it to one generation removed from Jeff. His daughter Mandy is the director of the Tehama County Fair, and just put on one of the best fairs that I've ever been to. And I think it was the first fair in Northern California this year.
First fair in California,
in all of California this year.
All California this year.
And it was fantastic. We were able to do the alcohol sales there at the fair, and I'll tell you,
they had the first concert too.
It was incredible. The amount of people that were there to support that. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And this is a great testament, I think, to your family, Jeff, and what the Davis family is doing for our community. Is that this is generational now?
Generational.
That's really cool.
No, Mandy does such a great job down there. When the rest of these fairgrounds have just shut down and haven't done anything collecting their checks, she's had a great year, as you know.
And she's tough as they come.
And she just figured out a way to make things happen and make things work. And after here we are a year later, and no super spreader events.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we had. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to get into that political contest now. But there's a city councilman down in Red Bluff who said, hey, you know what? The way that we get our state off our backs is we start doing contact tracing on the local level. So if somebody traces back to your bar, to your restaurant, to your event, we're going to shut you down. I said, maybe we don't want the state off our backs, because that's better than what you're offering here on a local level, and that's not the way it works. At the end of the day, I wrote the word down today is choice, because you said earlier, we have a choice,
exactly.
And that's the most American ideal is let's keep that choice alive, because up until this whole thing, right, the other side, the opposition, as I call them, were the ones who were the pro-choice people, right? But when the choices that we make aren't comfortable for them, all of a sudden, they want to limit us and take that choice away. So
you didn't send out paddy wagons to capture people and make them come to the
No, I didn't have to send out no paddy wagons.
Well, and you said it initially, and I love that because it puts the ownership on. It's very empowering for you to say, you're a free person. You want to come to my rodeo, come.
Yeah.
If you don't.
Stay
if
home.
You want to stand in the corner, stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Let's get back to letting people make the choice.
It's your choice.
It's your choice.
Exactly.
And I love it. And that's, and that's something that's been forgotten, I think, here in our society, right, where people just don't mind their business anymore. Nobody minds their own business. Yeah. Guess what? I have a choice. You have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you. I'm here. If you need something from me as a neighbor, as a friend, as somebody in your community, hey, nobody's going to want to help you more than I am, But we have to make choices for ourselves and allow the people in our community to make choices for themselves. Yep. So if you want to close your business, that's your choice. If you want to keep your business open, that's your choice as well. Yeah.
And it's risk. You get, and I think that's what fuels the Cowboys. I'm not a cowboy. I've always wanted to ride horses. I'm moving into it because my daughter, she is dead set on it. She's taking roping lessons now and everything. So I'm stoked. I'm going to join with her. But also you can just see the inherent, they're willing to jump on a horse. There's some risk. immediately. You know, it's like a motorcycle rider.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more risk in the country way of life. You could have bad weather. You can have that. There's you're out,
but it breeds
outdoors,
a toughness,
and it breeds a grit and a willingness to take some risks. So yeah, of course, rodeo events are probably going to lead this charge because the people that go and the people that participate are already taking risks.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, now I'm going to stop all that I live for just because of the virus risk. No, it doesn't weigh anymore. It's not critical thinking. I'm going.
It is a mindset you have. You know, Jeff and I have a mutual friend that works for him named Billy Holland, and he was in the shop one day and we were talking about the new gun laws. You know, well, Billy's eyes glaze over when you talk politics anyway, so he's like thumbing through his phone. I said, "Hey, what do you think about these new gun laws, Billy?" He goes, "Hey, I don't abide by laws. I'm a cowboy."
Yeah,
You could just ignore
I love that. You know,
Well,
and that's become something, right?
They're making more. Like me, how's your gym doing? Great.
Yeah.
What do they have you doing? I don't even know.
Well, I mean, that's actually a saying, right? Where people say, "Oh man, you're being a cowboy about it." You know, people say, "Oh, that guy's so cowboy about the way he does stuff." You know, that's a compliment. I mean, that's great.
Exactly.
You know, that just means that he has a grit.
Yeah.
Again, that word. You know, to get through things. To say, you know what? No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do what I'm doing. You know?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's kind of like redneck, you know. Red's supposed to be a rip, but
Yeah.
I mean, it stands for a guy that works
Well,
hard.
what do they want to paint us as? They
Yeah,
want to
so-
paint us as uneducated, uncalculated, you know, just not smart, unintelligent, low IQ. These are the kinds of things they want to believe about people in rural America when it's not true. Smartest people you ever meet are cowboys. They really are, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Common sense.
Risk assessment has to happen every day.
Yeah.
In that kind of work.
Well,
you know?
small, and like the four of us are business owners. And what is it that succeed? Isn't it 4 out of 5 small businesses don't make it? Or
They
something?
fail in the
all
first
have-
year, yeah.
So we can't be total retards. I mean,
Still feeding my family.
Maybe we're all just stubborn.
So what's
done the
next,
quit,
Jeff?
don't give up.
In the Davis rodeo world, in the 4-star rodeo world, what can we look for next?
Well, you know, Redding, California, coming up
Next
Thursday
weekend.
night. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. So I'm excited to go there. You know, I'm hats off to them guys for making it happen. Sure. And you know, then after that, we might go to one in Eagle, Idaho in June, but then after that, my whole June shut down.
Okay.
The end of June, we go to Prineville, Oregon. And they are really standing up and fighting. Got a great committee up there
like Prineville.
Yeah, that they're standing up. And then, like I say, right on into Eugene. Then the summer's looking pretty good.
Heck yeah.
So we'll see.
Good deal.
But yeah, we're looking forward to Redding this week. So
Good deal. So here locally, if you guys are around Redding Rodeo, are they sold out yet, Jeff? Do you know?
I haven't heard.
You know?
I haven't heard.
Yeah, I was going to say,
We'll
good
be
luck
there.
getting tickets, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like Red Bluff. It was.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah, I think they were only selling 25% capacity pre-rodeo, but then
I think it's going to end
you
up
can
being a
come
full
buy
deal.
buy
Yeah.
a ticket still at the
By
gate.
walk up. So
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But
Well, I appreciate you being on, Jeff.
no, I'm
And-
glad to be
yeah,
here.
It's really cool. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.